10th, 2026 regular board meeting of the Lowell Light and Power to order. It's 6:01. Charlie, if you do roll call.
Chairperson Beecham.
Here.
Vice Chair Founder.
Here.
Board Member Cadwalder.
Here.
Board Member Crawford.
Here.
And Board Member Shroud.
Here.
All present.
Okay, approval of the agenda. I'm going on a action item, I'm going to add one action item. And we discuss it, it's regarding, the Flat River. And it's about an authorization of, aquatic nuisance control. So they're looking to spray that, and we have a list of, they have a list of, all the signatures they need, and because Light and Power is one small section is along the river, they would like, our approval, and we'll add that and discuss it and go from there.
Move to approve the agenda with the additional action item.
Okay.
Support.
It's been moved and supported. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried.
I'll abstain because I think it might be a conflict of interest.
Okay. That's fine. I mean,
Yep.
but certainly we want your discussion about it.
Yep.
Approval of the. So let's go back to that. So you're not abstaining of having it on the, you're,
Well, I'm abstaining, from having it on the agenda because I just feel like I don't want to have any perceived conflict.
well, I technically, what I think you should be doing is putting it, supporting it or whatever to have it on the agenda. When it comes down to the actual vote of that, then that would be where you would abstain.
So I will change my vote to yes. Thank you for,
Okay.
you know,
Nope, this is putting it on the agenda.
right.
So, and I don't believe that that's any conflict.
Right.
Okay, looking for approval of the minutes from the January 13th regular board meeting.
Move to approve those minutes.
I'll support.
It's been moved and supported. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. Safety moment.
We're gonna hand it over to Julie for the safety moment this month.
I got to pull it up. I have too many other things to pull up. One of them I forgot. See.
No worries.
Ready?
Okay, so we've had a lot of cold winter weather, so I picked when working outside, make sure to follow these little tips. So keep an eye on the temperature, take frequent short breaks, go indoors, warm up, get a warm, I don't know why it's not button. Get a warm beverage. When you are outside, protect your head, your ears, your face, your hands, to prevent frostbite and heat loss, which does leave your head. So be sure to wear a hat, like it says. Watch for signs of hypothermia, and have a winter emergency kit in your vehicle if you are traveling in a vehicle.
Especially if you have kids that refuse to wear gloves or.
Yes.
Gloves,
Yeah,
coats,
coats.
anything, shoes.
Yes.
Shoes.
Yes, especially when they drive, I just tell them, you know what,
Yeah.
you don't have to wear it. Put it in the back seat, and I hope you don't use it.
We've
But
got one of those in the office, don't we?
Yeah. We do. Just bring it in. You don't wear it. At least you have it. She's like, oh. But yes, all good safety reminders in this winter weather here. Okay, today is actually nice, so
Yeah.
you never know.
Thank you.
Perfect, thank you.
Public comment? Any public comment? Hearing none, we'll move on to action items. Charlie?
All right, we're going to start with just a strategic plan update. There's a lot in this presentation, so I'm going to roll through pretty quick, but I also want to encourage you that if you have questions, I'm going to kind of take the lead, but this is by no means my product and my discussion. It's very much a team effort. Leadership team has met a couple times now. We do this every late January, early February to kind of kick off our budgeting process, start to get the wheels turning and really to give the board a preview and the opportunity to provide feedback before we present the draft budget next month. So we're already into budget season. Next slide, please. So just, we've spent a lot of time reviewing or updating the strategic priorities over the last couple of years. I think they've been a great addition to the strategic plan. And kind of our thought today is, again, just wanted to, not going to go through all these, but those are the big focal areas: safety, reliability, customers and community and customers, financial health, workforce development, process development. And last year we added the agile and adaptive in the light of all the things that were being thrown at us. So I guess I'll preface the presentation with, as we met, staff did not come up with any recommendation for updates to the strategic plan. So we focused more on our efforts to advance the strategic priorities, what we're doing from a strategic standpoint. So we'll jump right into our kind of current initiatives and ongoing initiatives. And I've mapped those to the strategic priorities that we have, but we're in the middle of a 5-year capital budget development, formalizing that process. It's something that we're kind of at a transitional period as we're wrapping up some multi-year projects. Zach is still in the first year. Well, I guess not anymore, ish. But it's kind of the idea is to allow Zach the opportunity to really create a roadmap forward. So that's a really, really significant process. That's something that Casey's involved with, and we're something that we're working with an external engineering firm with as well. The NISC software conversion is a huge lift from a strategic standpoint, but it's very much tied to our ability to be adaptive. It's a big driver in selecting NISC. It's very much focused on process development and efficiencies around processes. We're going to have the opportunity to implement quite a few new initiatives from a process standpoint, and then ultimately that software serves as the customer interface. So big project, multi-year project. Obviously, as we presented the timeline, and we're looking at over a year process to do the conversion. So all in all, it'll end up being a 2.5 to 3 year start to finish project, which is a pretty heavy lift. Crisis communication plan is actively going on. A customer survey, we're doing a larger customer survey this year. So we've engaged the company that APPA partnered with for the survey that we've done so far. We're gearing that survey to qualify for the customer satisfaction awards, but we're also wanting to take obviously a deeper dive and get at the customer sentiments quite a bit more. So that's going to be a big initiative this spring. The safety program revamp has been, I'd say, ongoing for at least a year. We're kind of in a transitional period now where we've engaged Alpha Omega, but we're also wrapping up our contract with Mecca. But I want to stress how that is just a piece of the safety program. The safety program goes so much further than who we're engaged with outside. It involves the office. It involves multiple companies coming in so that we hit on different topics. The outside crews do weekly kind of kick off the week safety discussion, kind of like our safety moments. They start every Monday morning with some sort of safety discussion. So the safety program is it's more holistic than just who are we partnering with to provide the actual training to keep us OSHA compliant. capacity issues. That's an ongoing project. Obviously, Casey and I are leading that one up. Casey's really done a ton from a behind the meter generation standpoint. His efforts to evaluate the natural gas and our long-term natural gas strategy are very much tied to addressing that short position and making sure that we maintain the 2 units here. You'll hear from Casey later on some emergency operations and just the value of having that capacity short position sure enough. Insurance benefits are helping employee insurance benefits. That's been a big initiative that has been going on for a couple of years. Cash management plan is always there, I would say. We something that we touch on annually. And in the office, they're focusing some efforts on critical process documentation. So it's business continuity planning. They're going to have an extended period of being short-staffed with an extended personal leave, maternity leave in the office. So, documenting those processes is critical to business continuity, especially in the office where so many of their processes are incredibly cyclical and incredibly time constrained. There's almost everything they do is time constrained. So you don't have the opportunity to say, oh, we'll get to it next month, or everything that has to happen in 1 month still has to happen in 1 month. So that business continuity is very, very important. So these are some of the major ongoing initiatives. And like I said, you can see where we've mapped them to the strategic priorities. I feel like we're doing a really good job of trying to balance the strategic priorities and make sure we're addressing all of them. And yeah, happy to take any questions, comments.
Sorry. What do you think is going to be your biggest challenge?
Oh, we're going to get to some challenges. That's
Okay.
included in the presentation. I got a whole slide for it.
Okay.
Thanks for teeing that one up. I just wish I'd have put it next.
So before we go on. So in this, and maybe you're gonna explain and everything again. So we have this list over here, initiatives. In previous, or strategic, we had like years, like, oh, we're doing this, or this is gonna happen here, or there was a time frame for those. Is that, I mean,
So we did
So what is
away with that document because if you remember back, I don't know, a couple of years ago, there was a board discussion on where the line is between what's staff's job and what's the line with board setting direction. And that was the strategic priorities were an attempt to try and balance that. And that's where, we're going to get into some things that are on our radar and future initiatives that we're evaluating. This is more just kind of the current and what's going on. And the intention is to, with kind of trying to define that boundary or granted, it's a really gray area and it should be gray. It's something that the staff and board should be collaborating on. And it shouldn't be a clear, there are certain things that should be very clearly the board's prerogative or the board's purview. And there's certain things that are very much staff's purview. The strategic plan is how do we blend those two together. Happy to get into more details and lay out more, but the idea was, hey, if we're covering and advancing each of these strategic priorities through effective initiatives that are really ultimately ongoing conversation. I hope nothing on the left here is a surprise to any board member. They're all things that we've discussed. So the idea is with this is it's just more of a touch point to reiterate, here's the things that we're doing. Here's how we're advancing the priorities that have been established by the board. And this is kind of the attempt to marry the two together.
And so this is just more of the results.
Yeah, and we're going to get into, hey, what are some major challenges that we have? What are future initiatives? What's on our radar? And that kind of gets into replacing that, hey, this is what we're going to do next year. And there's different ways. You participated in strategic plan sessions with me, and There's different ways that you can carve up your strategic plan, and some strategic plans lay out very specific initiatives for 3 years in a row. What I've found in the last 5 years of being here is you can plan all you want and the world throws you a curveball. And if we keep these priorities in focus and we make sure that we're advancing each of the priorities and we're protecting against these challenges, then overall things will come together. But obviously we count on board support, we count on board involvement, board feedback, and we want to make sure that the things we're doing here, reporting on, are aligned with the wishes of the board.
I mean, just, for instance, so will this documentation be on our website?
Was not intending to, but I can.
No, I was just, so that,
I had not had that thought yet
Well,
to put it out there, but
I'm just, whether XYZ person wants to, look at our strategic plan or
now
whatever.
the strategic plan isn't on the website.
Okay.
The strategic plan is there. The initiative, the nuts, the bolts is more for the board. For here, again, I can take direction and happy to disseminate it however we can. Not seeing much interest from the public, honestly.
No, but I'm just, because like, when you say 5-year capital budget, to me, in my mind, we should always have, like, that should always, every year, we should be looking 5 years ahead, 5 years ahead, 5 years. I mean, so it's like, okay, drop this year off and
that's what we're moving towards. The last 5-year plan was not a 5-year plan. It was a 20-year, $20 million plan. Was not a 5-year plan. So the goal with this is to do exactly that. The thought wouldn't necessarily be, it'd be every year we review. Year 5, you don't have a ton of certainty. Obviously, there's no sense in having super detailed plans 5 years out, because you'll never predict. If I could have predicted where we'd be today 5 years ago when I took the job, I'd have played the lottery a lot. Probably wouldn't be working. But the idea is let's move in that direction. We want to develop a 5-year capital plan that gets a full overhaul every 3 years. Revisit it annually, add in year 5 as a year drops off, add a new year on the back end, add a new year on the back end, but then on a 3-year interval, do a formal, let's revamp the whole thing, let's reevaluate. That's how a lot of strategic plans are done. Like NPPA strategic plan is a 5-year strategic plan that's revisited every 3 years, knowing that last 2 years will be should be aligned with where you still should go, but you get more value out of developing certainty, higher degree of certainty as it kind of comes into focus.
Good.
All right, we'll roll on. So the next is just kind of some updates. It's equipment, facilities, and staff. So just an equipment update. It's been a large strategic initiative from the board's perspective, something that actually started, probably 7 years ago, maybe. I don't know exactly how long the plan had been in place when I showed up, but this is a culminate. We're not going to say the culmination because it's cyclical and we'll run right back into it. But we've ordered the digger truck, which is the last major piece of equipment. We're getting into a couple other smaller pieces of equipment, but still critical. So looking for a skid steer this spring. So looking at potentially coming in March or April for board approval to purchase that. That and the mini excavator are both readily available from a local dealer. So they're not the same type of lead time that you would expect out of some of the other equipment. So the skid steer that we're looking at is something that we want to use this spring, and we'll get into the details next month or in April, but kind of the next things on the radar, mini X that needs to be replaced. We're going to recommend a little bit of larger equipment, especially with the skid steer. So we'll need a new trailer for that, but then also want to put on, just the radar, the pickup trucks that we started replacing about 5 years ago are going to be due for a new cycle of replacements here in starting in about 3 years. So we're getting close to, that's on our radar at this point. And then the service truck is something that we're evaluating what the appropriate replacement cycle is. That piece of equipment is an absolute workhorse for us. It goes out, it leaves here every single day, and it goes on probably almost every job. It's on a job almost all the time. So it's very much a critical piece of equipment. And so we're gonna make sure that we don't let that thing get to the point where it nickels and dimes us to death, or it becomes a reliability issue. So we're thinking that it was purchased in FY 2021. So we're thinking 28, start looking at what that replacement would look like, and not pushing that replacement out beyond 10 years. So that's on the radar as well.
So my one question. Are we small enough or are we getting bigger? So at some point, should we be looking at 2 service trucks? Me,
It has not been part of our conversations. I could see a path in the future, depending on what our line staff looks like, but it would be driven more by competing priorities. If it's this, what's it not? Is it the best use of $150,000, $180,000, or should we invest that somewhere else?
my question is to look at, so instead of my thoughts, again, instead of waiting 10 years, all of a sudden we look at, 5 years, bringing in a second truck. Does it make our crews, function, more, I don't want to say reliable, but, does it utilize, having 2 service trucks, does it utilize their time better? Then,
I'll put you on the spot a little bit, Zach.
are you,
I would say no, unless we hire quite a few more people.
okay,
If we're gonna work out a poll, you're gonna have 2 guys in a big bucket and then 1 in a single bucket. There's 3 guys. You gotta have a guy at the ground, so there's 4. So by having another service truck, I don't really see the benefit.
And we have the big bucket. And that's you bring up a good point with the service truck. It's a 1-person bucket.
Yeah, it's a single person bucket.
And it's limited.
Limited on reach too, so.
Well, I'm just
It's great.
asking those
Yeah,
questions.
it's a great question. But I don't really, as long as we keep that truck reliable,
Right,
I don't see a need for it.
And do we have some sort of backup? Do we have another?
We don't have another service truck, but we have 2 more bucket trucks.
Yeah.
I mean,
Okay.
you can do, the nice thing about the service truck is we're in town. The service truck can do, the big bucket can do everything a service truck can do, except for get into this. It's just not the same maneuverability.
And it's faster on those small jobs.
Okay.
It's way faster.
Yeah.
You don't have to set up 4 outriggers. Literally park the truck, turn it on.
Yeah, it was a very strategic purchase in that it's of a smaller size, so it doesn't have it doesn't have the material handler on it. It's so I'll defer to Zach on that. Things would have to change significantly. I would say if it were needed, it wouldn't be till halfway through the next truck's
Right.
life cycle. I mean, if it were going to be needed, it's not going to be needed in the next 8 years, I would say. So unless something changes and something changes drastically, it better come with a whole lot of money. Because that's what would honestly, is what would drive that expansion need, is we'd have to expand staff. Well, we have to expand customers to expand staff. So there would be a list of things that would come along with it.
Okay.
All right, Julie, facilities, there's not much here. We've done a lot. I was actually just, one of the things Steve was talking about is facilities. I was just on the phone. But we're looking at the removal of north sub. That'd be a nice little project. It'll be a great project. Some minor stuff at the substation, some minor stuff at the main office, and some, outside of the potential for generation expansion down here, very much minor stuff. So I would say our facilities are all in really good, healthy condition. The office is a 100-year-old building, so there's ongoing maintenance with maintenance needs there, but really appreciate the board's support. And, it's one of those things that I think most board members have been a part of most of the renovations, but one of the things that we regularly hear is we have nice facilities. This is a great facility. The office is a great facility. The substation was built awesome. I mean, there's a lot of investment that has really come from this table into the facilities that we have, and we're reaping the benefits a little bit now that it's more maintenance stuff, small projects and maintenance, not major capital investments into our facilities, except for unless if we add generation, all bets are off. That's a new game. So we'll roll on.
Wait a minute.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
So I just want to put my 2 cents worth about the Lowell Arts Mural.
All right.
Okay, so just hear me out, guys. We have got a very cool triangle shaped building, and that brown brick is very nice. The ugly side of it is what I would, and I believe Craig mentioned it last time.
Yeah.
But the ugly side that's facing the parking lot, sure, paint whatever.
Yeah, that's where they're looking.
And even I would say include that fence
Not on
somehow
that
too.
It's not ours. It's not our project, and we'll have approval, but I'm not fundraising for it. I'm not hiring the artist. It'll be if we like the idea,
Right.
then great. If it becomes a giant time hog or a point of contention, then we walk.
All right.
Uh,
I just wanted to
Well,
make.
my understanding, wouldn't Lowell Arts be doing the heavy lifting on
Yeah.
that? Yeah, okay.
Yeah, but that's where we're going to be limited. I can't tell Lowell Arts, you've got to go do this. We want you to do this, this, and this. If it's a good fit, it's a good fit.
Yep.
If it's not a good fit, we won't do it.
Right.
Okay.
But I would agree. I'm not looking
So
to.
we're well aware of the parking lot ugly side.
That's what they are. Yeah, Janet. I always forget Janet.
Ugly
Yeah,
side.
yeah.
Not Janet. Janet had said, what she came to mind. She said, park in that parking
And I
lot.
love Janet. I worked with
So-
her
A couple
during.
council members are concerned about these murals and the longevity of them, and what does that look when it starts deteriorating on your building, the upkeep, the cost?
Absolutely.
How does that happen? So we still have quite a few questions before we go ahead and make a
Okay.
total suggestion that, and we think this is good. That's up to you if you want to have one on your building and offer that as a free space. We
Right.
can do anything with that, but it's maintaining those things are very costly.
And I agree with you, but like I
Make a new
said,
mural.
it's.
What's that?
I would say we are by no means the first community to explore murals.
Right,
I've got a good friend that's painted 15 in Paris. Every alley has a mural in them, and 10, 15 years old at this point, and they look great.
Yeah, permission. right?
What's that?
Yeah.
No, it has.
Somebody-
Spray paint. So,
Yeah.
But it's one that.
We haven't done it for real
I'm
yet.
not, if it were plowing new ground, if it was us figuring this out, I wouldn't have any interest. It's, I think our role is simply an approval process. If it works for us, it works for us, but we don't have the capacity from a staff or the skill set to dictate. It's either got to be something that works for us, that the board will ultimately say, yeah, that's great, or it's something that we don't pursue.
And if you want, I don't know if it's appropriate or not, but I would be willing to be a liaison for the project. I would be willing to, even if it needs it, I could find some grants. I could do some grant writing if we wanted,
You would help them.
Yeah.
Yeah, get a hold of, I like that thought too, because at least we as a board have an inside, I don't want to say inside person, but a person that can say yes to anybody that's out in the public that says, why are you guys doing that? Why is all our money going to this? And I could say, well, have you talked to Doug Saunders? I could flip them to you. I
rather
don't
than
have
bothering
the
Charlie with
answer.
it. And then if there was
Right.
anything that would have to rise
Or
to
Charlie.
speaking
But
of Charlie.
So I believe we're just, at this point, we're just providing the space to do that.
On the
And then
other
there's-
side.
On the other, yes, on the, on the,
South
on the south side of the building.
Thank you. That's
Um,
all I need.
Yeah, that's the only space they're looking at is the south side.
And
I
there,
wouldn't want them to touch the rest of the building.
No.
It's the big ugly white door that is not period appropriate. You know, I don't think they had those 100 years ago. So
the other is again, you know, if I was the arts council or whatever, I would. Metal's not very expensive. I mean, I'd look at putting white metal up and painting the mural on that as compared to painting it on the brick and then having the old brick,
all part.
you know, come off. and-
The way I'm looking at this is it can't, it's not our primary. It's not our primary, focus.
Right.
It should not be a distraction from what we're doing, shouldn't be a distraction from what the board needs to accomplish. So, if it's not a good fit, we can walk away.
Okay.
I don't know, it's still incredibly early. I don't think they have funding. They've not gone through, you know, I don't know where they're at in the process. At this point,
They had a small funding to start to look into it that
Yeah.
the city had given them or came aboard and
Yeah.
they moved it over instead of having rats and what was that?
lions and rabbits.
Yeah, lions, and rats.
Rabbits and snow, rabbits,
Yeah,
and-
but they took that money.
rabbits and rats.
And,
Yeah.
They don't have.
and all I'm gonna say, Craig, is
No.
if you wanted to talk to the Arts Council and volunteer your time with the Arts Council, that's fine, but I think we, as Lowland Power, just needs to stay separate from it, and that we are just providing an area for them to put the mural on. I don't think we need to get,
With final approval. It
Right.
needs, the actual image needs, whatever's gonna be painted, needs to be something that the board approves of. That's kind of what I see our role in, space and final approval needs to be represented, and I'm hoping that they reach out and ask for, you know, our thoughts on what, you know, would be, but at this point, I've simply said, hey, it's a great space, we'd love to explore it. You know, I'll happily write a letter of support for one of the grants. I don't remember what grant they were applying for. So, that's all we're at now. And the board will continue to have the opportunity to weigh in. And again, if it's not a good fit, then we walk. If it's a good fit, which I hope it is, I think it's a great opportunity to deal with the ugly side of the building, because that side of the building is not exactly great. And we talked about doing something. I'd love to see, if that doesn't come through, I'd love to see a big robotics, home of the old robotics team, or, there's more that can be done there.
Yes.
I'll be honest, staff does not have time to dig it, obviously. We can,
Understandable.
we definitely we're committed to the building looking nice, and we'll dedicate time to that, but if we can get the wall arts to run with quite a bit of it, and do the heavy leg work, then fantastic.
Okay,
right.
thank you.
Thank you. Staff, again, big focus on just continuing training opportunities. Obviously, the board, the office is getting ready to deal with, or handle a extended period of being short-staffed. And then the line crews, obviously, the line crew staff, from a staffing perspective, is a major focus. It takes 4 to 5 years to get an apprentice through the program. And just because they get through the program doesn't mean they're truly ready to be out on their own and doing the things that we ask our journeyman line workers to do. So, on that side, we have an apprentice that is progressing incredibly nicely through the program, and will finish his schooling later this year and just have to get in his hours. We are preparing for a potential retirement at any given point. We have somebody that's retirement eligible, and we want to make sure that we're prepared to congratulate them on their retirement instead of going, oh crap, you sure you don't want to stick around for a little while longer?
Yeah.
So that's a big focus, and I think we're in a great position. We've taken quite a few steps, Zach's taken quite a few steps to get us in a good spot there. And then, as I mentioned, we do have a vacancy on the line staff right now that we are evaluating, just how to pursue, what our needs are and how to pursue, backfilling that position. Next, challenges. Biggest challenge is time. We're a small staff. We run at right close to the rev limiter, as much as possible. But across the board, whether that's in the office, with Casey's taken on, additional engineering responsibilities, and still has all the demands of the generation department. Zach stays busy with, put a busy capital budget, but that's just one of the things that is on his radar. And then you just never know what customer needs are going to impact your time availability. We're dealing with, not even dealing with, we're working with a customer right now that's pulling Casey and Zach, away from other duties that just weren't, wasn't on our radar. It's a lot of customer driven, workload. Outside engineering support, we're working with Verdantis and GRP, getting used to that relationship. It's been a challenge, for sure. So we need to deal with that. There's always the chance for potential legislative changes, and especially with a big election year in the state this year, where we know we're going to see new elected officials in pretty key positions, that we do anticipate some interesting dynamics with legislation changes over the next few years. And then increasing costs across the board. Costs are going up, whether it's in our benefits, which has been a focus this year. Material prices never came down after COVID. We're still seeing transformer prices 300% higher than what we saw before COVID. So that's just not coming down at this point. And then power supply, we talk about it regularly. So a lot of challenges that we're facing, and these were the ones that immediately came to mind. If we really were to peel back the layers of the onion, I'm sure we could come up with quite a few other challenges. It's just a matter of how do you address them, how do you prepare for them. So I think we're well positioned. Part of the challenge is just identifying and acknowledging them, and with just some life wasn't challenging, then it'd be boring. So we'll cross those bridges as we go.
When you say you're operating at close to the red line, then how does that impact continuous improvement and adapting to?
That's part of what's rampant. That's part of it. You can't say, oh, we're not going. I really think that continuous improvement is ingrained in the culture. So I don't think you can say, oh, we're not going to focus on that. It's just, partly the people involved. Nobody's complacent. So they make sure that, if there is capacity, it's put towards something productive. So yeah, I say it's at the rev. It's not. I mean, there's always, you got to keep some headspace, but really what I would say is it's swapping things out. Hey, we got to put this on our plate. This has got to come off the plate for the time being. But I would say that continuous improvement has to be considered in everything that we do. Part of that, a good example is in the office with them documenting critical processes. There's been improvements. Every time you talk and really walk through the process, that's an improvement. The actual act of documenting these critical processes is part of that continuous improvement. So I don't think you can separate them. But from a board's perspective, know that it is a priority and will remain a priority, because if we're staying stagnant, then we're not operating close to that rev limiter. We don't want to burn anybody out. We don't want to kill anybody by any means, but we want to make sure that everybody's pulling in the same direction. And when continuous improvement is part of your culture, it has to be part of everything you do. That was a non-answer too, but
I'm glad that
it is fruitful.
I mean, it's just something I would want to make sure that we are being mindful of, because I know many companies, including one I work for, when people get busy, if that's one of the things that gets backburnered.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, we don't have time to adapt to a change, so don't change. we're just gonna try to get through this, what we're doing.
We do our, that,
It's not a conscious thing, but it's a,
but it does, it happens. I completely agree. It happens. And there are times, and we talk about it, but we want to be aware of them, that there are
Mhm.
moments in time where it's just get by. I want to say, and it sounds bad, but it's an acknowledgement of the core work that we have for this finite amount of time. And it has to be bound by time limits. And I've said it before, I said, Julie, this is one of those weeks we just got to get through. We're short staffed.
Yeah.
We've got critical processes. We're going to consciously pause on some of these other things and focus on what are the core activities what are the foundational activities that have to get done.
Yeah.
But again, the important thing is it has to be bound by time. It needs to be acknowledged, be a conscious decision, and put constraints on it so that you don't get into that. When Zach and I were
Yes.
talking, it happens once, it's something, happens twice, all right, well, it happens the third time, now it's a pattern.
Yeah.
And patterns are easy to fall into, so I think part of it is just being aware, acknowledge it, and be okay with saying, today's the day, we just have to get this critical process done, get this done. Tomorrow we'll regroup and say, what do we need to refocus on?
Mhm.
So,
Understandable.
Cool, thank you.
Capital budget preview. And again, some of these are customer driven. East Main Street conversion. Think that that's probably our next target based on the fact that Copper Rock is, who knows where that project's gonna land, but we have to be ready to serve the Copper Rock potential development at the old Rollaway facility. That's, I think, the last proposal, which I think is expired from a planning commission perspective, is 50 or 60 meters. So we want to make sure that we can get that on the elevated voltage or the higher voltage. So we're not going back and just redoing something. So that's what's driving a lot of that. Spring Hill Drive. Everybody's very familiar with Spring Hill Drive. That is on the list for rebuilding and undergrounding. And if anybody actually knows where Spring Hill Drive is, I'll be impressed. The people that live on Spring Hill Drive don't actually have a Spring Hill Drive address. They're laughing on the end because I didn't know what the road was called. It's a private drive off Grand River that just has some, it's old ran, I mean, it's ran behind. It's a nightmare. Needs some threat to reliability, just like Little G Drive. Wastewater treatment plant voltage conversions on the list. That's a relatively small project, but an important one. Zach's going to get into some of the weather challenges we had. For preview is discussion. We've lost basically the last month, and we don't know what kind of trickle effects that's going to have throughout the rest of the year with some of our capital projects. So we are expecting some carryover next year. We're prepared for a Stony Bluff expansion next year. We're already in some preliminary discussions with them for phase 7 of 9. So we're getting close to wrapping that one up. Casey's gonna have some minor generation facility improvements. We've talked quite a bit. We've put some things on hold, or he's put some things on hold as we evaluate potential future generation. We looked at taking some steps towards automating the gas compressor skid. Obviously, if the gas situation, the long-term gas strategy changes, then we need to make some adjustments there. Capital equipment, we've seen this line item really ramp up in the last 5 years. I think 5 years ago, we put $30,000 or $50,000 in the budget for capital equipment. This past year, it was almost 200,000. And it's going to continue to be elevated as we need to prepare. Sorry about that. As we prepare for, there's a couple multi-family developments that are being discussed in town. So the meter orders are going to ramp up, and then we have a lot of 3-phase areas that are targeted in the 5-year plan for voltage conversion. So as we look 5 years, in the next 5 years, we're going to continue to stock 3-phase transformers and continue to make sure we're prepared to meet that customer needs or be prepared for the voltage conversion projects.
Question?
Yep.
Are we using the same meters as, so then we have an issue with the meters.
The ultra capacitors going bad.
So, I mean, did the company, were they out of warranty? Did the company stand behind them? Are we looking, if they didn't, are we looking at going with a different meter company? What's the,
We are bound. When you have an AMI system like we do, you immediately, the whole system has to work together. So you're limited.
so you
We're not,
you can't switch in the middle of the road unless you switch everything.
and we've talked about that, and I'm not advocating, it's a very big uphill battle. Just from a depreciation standpoint, without getting into too much accounting and in the weeds, the meters are a long life asset. And you're constantly rotating your stock. Every time a new home is developed, you put a meter in that's 0% depreciated, right next to a meter that might be 60% depreciated. As you build up depreciation, you're always adding, or as you accumulate depreciation, you're always adding new meters, you're always adding new components. So it's very challenging with an AMI system to get to the point where your system is depreciated enough that you don't have to take a huge loss to do away with it. So there's some accounting challenges around scrapping an entire system. And then that also doesn't touch on the fact that if we were to change, you have to wholesale change everything out. And the vast majority of the meters in the system are healthy. So you would be scrapping things you'd have a lot of stranded investment in the system. Do we like the ultra capacitor issue? Heck no, it's terrible. I think it was a surprise to them, which does not give me a whole lot of confidence. We've had lots of challenges with our AMI system, the vendor itself, from a support standpoint,
So-
I can list a lot of challenges with them.
So is this an issue, is this an issue that has been, the company has rectified on all new purchases, or who
I-
knows, or?
It's, well, Zach, do you have any? I would say no. It's kind of the nature of the beast.
Yeah, they've acknowledged it. They've done something, but we really haven't been told what they've done. So.
Yeah, we don't have a great answer. And we don't have great communication with them to get good answers. They might be Zach's most frustrating people to deal with.
Yeah.
I'm trying to recall, we did a news story in regarding the AMI meters, that how there were a lot of issues with them. And,
What kind of issues?
not working, not reading properly, going offline just for some reason. I'm trying to think of the news story I was watching on that.
I would,
So it wasn't just the low issue.
No.
Wherever they.
I'd definitely be interested in understanding, because
Right.
there's what you call revenue grade meters and non-revenue grade meters. Like the meters that we have at the substation that are for SCADA, of course, it's not up right now. Those are all non-revenue grade meters. But to go into a customer, to be a billing meter, there's pretty extensive standards. Every meter we get a file that shows us the accuracy. And it has to be between like 99% accurate and 101. The bandwidth is pretty tight for it to be considered revenue grade. I'm making up some numbers, but it's a tight bandwidth. I don't know if anybody
It
knows.
had to do with home meters.
Yeah, so I'm not sure. I'd be interested. We have
That's what I
confidence.
can recall, that was what I was just thinking. So which.
We have confidence in the accuracy of the meters. We don't have confidence in the people that work for the company. We don't have great support. Yeah, the support service is a major challenge.
Okay, move on.
All right. Last couple of things. Looking to put a drone in the budget this year. Zach has his pilot's license, and we've seen a lot of there's a lot of use cases for a drone, especially with our transmission line and how proactive we are in patrolling that line. There's also some of that is not ideal to get to. So even if it doesn't get, it'd sit quite a bit, but when it is used, it'd be high value type of deployments. After storms, you got, Zach's giving me a whole bunch of use cases for it.
Oh, yeah. I was gonna ask you about that a few slides ago and that's too much detail.
Yeah, we're actually, there's some interesting things there. We're talking with the police department, sheriff's department to see if there's opportunities for some synergies there. It may be a stretch, but if you can partner with people, why not? Probably, like I said, probably a stretch, and from a flexibility standpoint, we're probably going to want operational control of a drone. But again, more to come. And then the last thing I want to put on here, it's not going to hit the capital budget, but it's going to be a heavy year for tree trimming. So it factors in, obviously, time for the capital budget is dictated by maintenance time. And we need to prioritize tree trimming. So that's going to happen this year.
Why is it heavy this year versus other years?
Because they went
Because
in.
trees are close to the lines.
Well-
I mean, to put it in a simple term, we've done very well with tree trimming, and it's back to a big blitz again. It's just the trees have gotten up there. And it's also coinciding with us getting that mini, or not mini, the skid steer, because that is also gonna have a brush hog that can cut down alternate foot trees and also have a stump grinder on it. So it's gonna coincide with that a little bit, and then just the lines need it. I mean, the trees grew tremendously last year, and we're not in a bad situation right now, but we don't want to get in a bad situation. So it's gonna be cutting a lot of trees.
And
That's what they grew more than usual. So I would have thought the tree maintenance is sort of like
So
we're trying to keep a routine, but
on a really big system, you want to rotate. With a smaller system, and please correct me or chime in, but on a smaller system, if we tried to get on like a 5-year or a 7-year rotation, there's diminishing value of what you get done in any 1 year. You're better off doing 2 heavy years, 3 light years, 2 heavy years, 3 light years.
It's definitely, when I first started here, their tree trimming program was almost non-existent. So we had a massive tree trimming event that took place where I think it was 9 months of I don't think I ever touched a power line. I only cut trees for about 9 months. Me and Slim did most of the south side of the river by ourselves. And it's a lot, and now we gotta get back to it. So, I mean, we got 5 years out of it, 6 years out of it. That's a pretty long time, and we've had to go back and do minor cuts, but it's time for a big blitz again. And last year we started it with the forestry mulcher coming in. That saved so many man hours.
Right.
And then we're probably gonna rent a forestry mulcher head again. And then once we've done it once, our brush hog will be able to go everywhere that the forestry mulcher went. We should never have to rent another forestry mulcher again.
okay.
So, or hire somebody to come and do it, because ours should be able to, we better be able to get to it before the tree's 7 inches in diameter. So,
And so it's an evolution of this strategy as well. I think every year there's a little bit more proactive, let's get ahead of it. But
Would
there's
we-
areas that, hey, it's burning, let's go cut. There's always an element of reactiveness to the trees. Perfect world, it's all proactive, but unfortunately too, some customers are more inclined to be receptive to more aggressive cutting, more utility scale or utility style cutting, as it becomes a more imminent threat. Whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, I don't know, but it definitely factors in. If you can cut, if you can get 7 years of clearance or 5 years of clearance, it's much better than with some people that feel like that we should be coming to the same tree every year and pruning it, not utility clearing it.
No, I meant more like parts of the system, doing a 7-year clear on the 7th of the system every year, kind of
Yeah,
thing.
yeah,
That's it.
no, yeah. And for
Versus
me,
doing it 2 years out of 7 where we say, no, we gotta push off the other work aside and just go trim trees this year.
and I wouldn't say I've thought about that the way I worded it. The intention is not necessarily, it's not like, hey, everything's on pause, we've let this thing fall apart. It's hey, we're just going to focus incrementally more this year to try and get us in a better spot.
Yeah,
So-
and I know that we're way better about it than we've done them forever, so.
We're gonna hope. No,
No,
they put a lot.
It's not like this is a criticism of what we're doing, but it's just trying to.
No, and on a bigger system,
continuous
system,
improvements here.
yeah, that's exactly what you want to do is do a 5-year cut and do a fifth of the system every year.
But I see you mean that like, if we want to go out and do the transmission line or something, that's a big piece that.
And
You
then
don't
there's
want to do just half of it, they're gonna do the whole thing.
yeah, and that's where like, hey, we had a forestry mulcher in last year. It's go blitz every area of the system, which immediately, because it makes sense to bring in an outside person and go blitz that. Now it's all going to grow back at relatively the same pace, and that's where Zach's trying to push more into that proactive maintenance.
And that's what the brush hog would do, is say that stuff that we blitzed,
We're going to maintain.
we can maintain maybe half of this year and half next year, and the brush hog will still handle it.
Yeah.
As long as we don't let it go 5 years.
That's the exact idea. Is
Okay.
how do we get,
So we're kind of
everything's
going
a
there.
journey, and yes, eventually we'd love to get to, we mow everything once a year and we hit hot spots that are off the ground. There's always going to be some tree limb that you can't justify taking the whole tree down, but you've got to trim some back. So
Always one exception, yeah.
yeah, always exceptions.
So other than some very specific projects, would we be outsourcing for any general tree trimming? Or is this something we can do all in-house? We're not gonna get behind on this enough to, we need to bring anybody on.
So Zach and I have these conversations regularly. We're very hesitant to bring in outside contractors to trim trees. I think Perry can talk to you for hours on where some of that, the origination of some of that hesitation, but Zach and I regularly talk about strategic deployment of contractors, specifically thinking south of the river, where it's a little more rural area. You're not dealing with urban forestry, you're dealing more with an everyday tree. And then there's some other tough areas. Grand River is a really challenging area to get to. So there may be pockets, but I wouldn't say most of it is work. Yeah, and I don't think it's more workload driven. It's more efficiency driven. Hey, if we can control things, the public perception and controlling the narrative around and not bringing back the narrative that we generated ourselves. We shot ourselves in the foot as an organization with some of our past tree practices. We're not willing to risk that reputation. We'll make it a priority. So I couldn't imagine unless we're going to bring somebody in to take down a huge tree, something that's outside of our scope or capabilities. But other than that, I think it would be strategic deployments in order to facilitate, letting opening the guys up to do other projects.
And yes, I would encourage us never to go back to hiring an outside service we were paying $300,000 a year outside. And that's not to say that that these guys aren't doing that.
Right.
But I would be much more, if the general manager and they can figure it out, I would be much more inclined to hire full-time staff that were forestry people. Again, because there's a lot of
paying for some other company's overhead.
No,
Yeah.
you're not paying, you're not, typically a tree trimmer is going to be paying them less than what a lineman. There's the trade-offs. Do you want your lineman doing tree trimming all the time and not working but you're paying them lineman's wages. But the other is, having as Charlie touched on, having that perception of our employees are out trimming the trees as compared to having an outside service come in and you can direct them and they can do a great job. But there's the perception of you got somebody that's not living in the community, is not employed here, and they don't give a rip about what the neighborhood looks like. All they're doing is removing trees. And they might be doing a great job, but it's that perception. And I personally do not want to go back to that, ever go back to that perception again.
Understandable.
And
And just to pile on a little bit, when we had the forestry mulcher in, we attached an employee to that person. And it was their job to be the liaison with our customer. If customer has, and that's after they went and beat on doors and talked to everybody already. So we're very proactive, and he said it's a value proposition. It's been with the negativity that we've received and with some of our own practices, we've made the investment based on the value. But it's about perception.
Mhm. Ryan did a very good job talking to our community.
Oh, yeah.
We just have to
He got us turned around.
throw that right out there.
Oh, he did.
Because he was the tree whisperer to these people. And he did a great job. Bravo to him.
and we,
And we
you
can
know,
do it
we,
again.
at times when we saw that there were tree problems that weren't necessarily our problem, they're more of from the meter, from not the meter, but from the transformer going into the house and everything. If our guys, I mean, we put it in a policy, if our teams determine that could cause, any tree can cause an outage, but it is a likelihood that that's gonna cause problems, then we're gonna go in and address that with that homeowner. And sometimes, and a lot of times, take care of that cost as compared to them. If it's a tree that we figure is going to take down the lines, we're gonna address that. And so again, I don't think we need to beat it to death, but
Cool, we'll roll on. We're almost an hour in. So on the radar, some of the longer term type of things that are on the radar. Transmission line, long-term strategy is something that we've been discussing for a few years now. And if we can address the challenges we've had with the engineering firm and find somebody that we want to work with on that. Our IT support contract renewal is going to be coming up during the next couple of years. We just replaced the 3 servers in the data center, our local data center. I got to be careful using the phrase data center anymore. Our internal network data center, we've got it on the radar. That's about a 5-year life. We think that there's going to be an opportunity to revamp things in 5 years. So it's on the radar to see what can we put in the cloud? What can we, what's that next generation look like? Planning year 2029, 2030 capacity shortfall. That is very much on our radar. One of the biggest things on our radar. Clean energy plan submission. That's due to the MPSC middle of next year. So that's on the radar. And then staff, equipment, facilities, and process. They're always there. It's always ongoing considerations there. So these are just some of the big kind of focal points moving forward. And then there's some other ones. The Lighthouse lease here hits its initial termination date. So what does that future look like? Just some longer term things that we don't address on an annual basis that are on the radar. And then we've got our accomplishments. This past year was a really effective year. The visit from Congressman Molinar went great. We received the APTA Scattergood Award, the EWR program revamped, the Lowell Energy Outreach renewable energy plan compliance. Casey's gonna touch on turbine operations. But over the last couple of years Casey has operated in deep band, hopefully the bookends of the extremes. I'm hoping to not get colder or hotter than either of those, but inevitably it will. Taking down this Lafayette step down transformer, taking it out of service was a huge accomplishment. That was a culmination of many years worth of voltage conversion. And now that guy that lives there does not need to worry about his garage burning down. That was tough. The software evaluation process, that was about a year-long process. Multiple road trips, lots of staff time, a very big accomplishment. And then the SCADA update as well. There's others, but those were some of the ones that really stuck out. And I think that is all we had from a strategic plan update standpoint.
Yes. Perfect.
So
That's huge.
it was a big, it was a big, like I said, there was a lot of words on there, but there's a lot going on, a lot of accomplishments to be proud of, and a lot more work ahead of us.
What year are we in with the RP3?
This year's RP3 year. That's on the radar too. That was not on that list, but it was on our internal list. We will kick off the RP3 process probably in April. But we've met the last couple years we've met in the interim years to review the application and make sure we keep up on things, make sure, things that we've implemented are maintained. So we're in a good spot from an RP3 standpoint. We're hoping that the application process goes smooth this year.
Mhm.
But I think we have until October is when it's due. I think it opens in April, and we'll spend, probably give it, we've got the maternity leave coming up. And Lisa plays a big role in that process as well. So, not to mention we'll be short-staffed while she's on maternity leave. So we'll probably ramp that up when we're back to full staff, but should be able to wrap that up relatively quickly this year, I would say.
Yeah, we do things throughout the year, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's always ongoing efforts, whether it's, keeping track of training or safety, or there's certain things that we know we have to be prepared with, and we stay prepared with those. And then the touch points that we do in the off years, we review everything to make sure the things that we're supposed to be doing, we're doing.
Any other questions about the strategic plan review? Okay, we can go on to
All right,
easement negotiation.
I'm sorry, go ahead. Sorry, we're just gonna keep on rolling. After I spent an hour on that one, we're just gonna, now this one should be, relatively simple. I was hoping to have a few more things, but it's a fairly fluid situation, but one of the easements that the board approved as part of the capital projects this year, kind of the last minute, attorney got involved on their end and is just proposing some additional language. Nothing of any significance to the easement itself. It's very much legalese type of stuff. So working with our legal counsel on some of those, but one of the things that our legal counsel recommended and said was a very common practice was to have boards or councils delegate the authority to negotiate the final terms. The board is approved in principle, but there's always words that change. Specifically, we're going back and forth a little bit about an indemnification clause, very much a legalese type of language that is already constrained by Michigan laws. So wanted to put that before the board. If the board is inclined, I didn't make a recommendation because I'm not going to make recommendations to delegate things to me. That's a board purview.
Charlie and I talked about it. And the issue that we get into is that we meet only once a month. And then all of a sudden we've approved all the easements. We've sent it on to so we approve them or we recommend them, and the city council then has to act on them. And so what happens is now if we do not assign Charlie to be able to negotiate these, once we've approved them, if you said, no, I want it to come back to here, it's going to put some really constraints on getting some of these projects done, because then we have, so for instance, all of a sudden they come back and we go, okay, no, we either have to call special meetings or we have to wait another month. And then we approve that to send it on back to city council. Then they have to, get it on their docket. So we just, in our conversation, it's just not gonna work in the benefit of Lowell Light and Power to have it come back to the board every time. I think just like this process, we went through all the easements, we approved the easements, sent them on. But if their lawyer comes back with some little clause that they want or anything, I think it's, we should put the responsibility into Charlie's hands to be able to resolve that. And then he would come back with that. And if he sees something that's just outrageous, he's not going to approve it. He's going to bring it back to the board. So that's my take on it. It would just, if we don't do it, I think it's going to put a big glitch in how things proceed from our end.
Yeah, and the other caveat to that is from a protection of the board standpoint, which is important. Anything, I would want anything that any authority that's delegated to me to also require a legal review. If it's a contract, if I look at it, that's one thing. If I look at it and our attorney looks at it, these are legal documents. We're taking direction from our attorney on these type of things anyway. So if the board's inclined to consider it, that would be, it would be limited to specifically in this case, indemnification language, or other legal ease type of provisions, things like. One thing that every attorney wants to argue over is the venue of disputes. Everybody wants it in their home turf. There's a lot of little small things that aren't substantial to the actual easement. But again, I would recommend that if the board does want to delegate that responsibility to me, that it also require an attorney's review before going back to city council.
Okay, well, I mean, are you looking for a motion?
Mhm.
Okay, well, I'll make a motion that the board delegate to Charlie, our general manager, the authority to negotiate the final terms of the amendment.
Supported.
It's been moved, supported. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried.
You're up, Barry.
And Craig can speak more to this. So there's a group, nonprofit,
Lowell Friends of the Flat.
Lowell Friends of the Flat. You're all familiar with the issue of
Eurasian milfoil.
milfoil and invasive species and everything. So they've gone in and this last year done some spraying and this different things. This year, they're wanting a signature from everybody, everybody that has property or butts up to the property of the flat. And so that's all this is. Do you want to speak to it at all?
So, yeah, with our provider, Solitude Lake Management, I had to have them clarify what Eagle's guidelines are for people signing off on permission to do that. And their original statement to me was wrong. anyhow, I went through and looked at all of the properties along that side of the river on the Kent County GIS and made a list of all of the properties that are adjacent to the river that need this signature. King Milling owns a lot of it, so we don't need it from some of the property owners on Riverside Drive. And that was kind of the contention before, that if somebody was living, or somebody had like a dock down in front of King Milling's property, that they needed to sign off on it. But that's not the case with Eve. So, yeah.
So Lowell Lane Power has some land right out here where, over there that has where the old, cooling
Water intake, yeah.
water intake.
Where that
is.
platform is, where
Mhm.
it takes the shop on.
Yeah.
Okay.
So anyway, that's all we just,
It's our approval,
So
approval.
this is signing an approval that they can put that in the.
Street in
Flat
front of
River.
our, in front of Lowell Light and Powers.
Okay, so that's all that this is.
Yeah.
I'll see. I believe we-
I, from my seat, I can speak to, I really appreciate what the Wolford and the Platte are doing.
Absolutely.
I provided some feedback to Craig along the way. It's really awesome to watch people come back to the river. It was 2 years ago, there's nobody on the river. This past summer, we started to really see an uptake in people returning to recreational activities on the river. So we enjoy at the office looking out, watching wildlife. We've seen some really neat stuff out there. We saw an otter not long ago. It was kind of neat. But really appreciate what you guys are doing, and
Thanks.
I'm personally supportive. I don't know what, I've not read the letter, but
And just to add another piece to that, when we started last year, we were planning on not treating the west side of the river just because of cost constraints and that kind of thing. What happened is we basically did less treatment on that east side, so we had some wiggle room in our contract for them to do the west side.
so I mean, it's,
So do we need a motion for that?
yes.
To sign?
I believe we should.
Okay. A motion to sign this agreement. That's what.
Do we have support?
Support.
It's been moved and supported. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstains? And one exception, so. Okay. That's it. Action items. Informational items.
hey, I'm still on this one more. Phone call got discombobulated. All right, so we'll jump right into performance data. We took a little bit deeper dive last month when we had a little bit extra time. Not a ton of unique things to draw on this month. The sales, just overall sales were down this month, which it's a product of the weather, everything else. But overall, everything, from a performance, nothing stood out from a performance data standpoint, or sales. We continue to trend along as expected. But with the reduction in sales, we did see an increase in the average cost per kilowatt hour, mostly because of PCA and the fact that there's just fewer kilowatt hours to spread some of the other charges across. So other than that, if you want to jump down to the cash, investments in cash, Julie. Investments in cash, I mentioned it last month that I was hoping that we anticipated some cash growth this month, and it did happen, which is always nice when things happen the way you expect them to. So, we are. That's fine. I'm laughing.
Mouse. Got it.
But yeah, we did see some cash growth this month, and again, that's kind of what we expected. Cash flow is somewhat cyclical, so things are progressing as we expected. And then other than that, I don't really have anything. I'll highlight the PCA. Again, we're saw another uptick. PCA has kind of been hovering somewhat at an elevated rate. It's just kind of hovering a little bit. When Casey talks about the Max Gen event here shortly, where we did just get our weekly invoice that reflects that. We should see some. I'm hoping to see some downward pressure on the PCA over the next couple months as we factor in the windfall from Casey's flexibility and responsiveness. And that is performance data. Zach, you take away the outage report. Tough one.
Yeah, we had a pretty good month. One outage on Pratt Lake and 36th Street area. Just had a tree limb come down and 33-minute outage.
Easy enough.
Wow, it's just 33 minutes.
Quick one.
That is.
Yeah.
It's a tough one.
Ice, snow,
Yeah.
wind, so.
All right, well, that's the outage report. Income statement. Again, we did a little bit of a deeper dive last month, but we continue to trend as expected. We've hit our kind of our annual budget target for net income and operating income, or not, we're short of operating income, sorry. But we did hit our net income. Megan and I took a little bit of time to dig into it, and we are budgeting for some pretty flat net incomes for the rest of the year, but we should see it's normal ebbs and flows. Nothing stands out. A couple things that I'll highlight. We continue to be above budget on sales revenue and continue to be above budget on purchase power. I think the purchase power, after seeing that weekly invoice and the credit invoice that we received today, that should start, the power supply side should start to come in line a little bit, but it's not budgeting, it's not planning, it's windfall of some grid instability. So not exactly the windfall that you're counting on, but a lot of things, a lot of confluence of things. So overall, nothing stood out in the income statement. Again, we continue to trend along as we would expect. So happy to answer any questions, but things, like I said, things continue to stay in a good spot. All right. To be honest, I do not have much to report on from a capital budget standpoint. This past month, we hit some work on some minor capital projects, which is all the prom stuff. Other than that, we've paid for some capital equipment, wrapped up a little IT, but the weather has just been not conducive to getting capital projects completed. And then I'll hand it over to Zach for the distribution report.
So something that is not on the distribution report, and part of like Charlie talked about with the safety program, we had Ashley Holland to do first aid and CPR training, stop bleed training, bloodborne pathogens, a few other things. And I've said that was one of the best safety trainings for that subject I've ever been a part of. It was absolutely fantastic. She did a great job. Her assistant did a great job. It was engaging. No one fell asleep. It was very, very good training.
Yeah.
And she's a customer of Lowell Power, which is cool. So.
Yeah, she works for the Grand Rapids Fire Department and does all of the training for the city of Grand Rapids as a certified trainer. So I mentioned it in my report. I heard from more people after this training than I have any training we've ever taken anywhere I've ever been. I think I heard it from Casey, Zach, a bunch of people said that was the best CPR first aid training that they've ever been a part of. So we're incredibly fortunate to have Ashley as a resource, and I fully expect we will have her back to continue this.
Definitely. That'll be. Another thing that Charlie's been talking about is the cold weather. We essentially lost a month of work. I got a call at the beginning of January that our boring crews were already behind before the extreme cold hit. And then now with the extreme cold, I haven't got a call back yet to be told how much farther behind we're gonna be. So some of these, especially the G Drive project, is gonna get pushed back. Just due to having 4 contractors being pushed back because of this weather. When it gets that cold, they can't bore. Between how frozen the ground is and then the slurry that they have to go back in freezes before it can get in the ground. It's just, their hands are kind of tied. They don't schedule a ton during the winter, but pretty much anything they've scheduled this year got pushed back. So, just something to keep an eye on. We have been doing a lot of, as you can read in there, we've been doing a lot of stuff inside. We finished our trailer. Our tree truck is back from Howell and is all ready to go. We've been fitting that with some little add-ons that we like to do to our trucks to make them just that much better. Just tons of stuff in here, projects in here that really, you guys will probably never notice, but they're awesome projects for us. So we notice a lot. That's all I had.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, we'll roll on. Casey has Casey's got a presentation today in his report, so. Yeah. I'm gonna hand it over to him. You can roll with it.
Perfect. All right. So we had a MISO Max Gen event on January 24th. These don't happen very often, so it's a good opportunity to touch base with everybody and review the generators, their purpose, their benefits, their functionality, and kind of how they play a role in our overall electrical system and financials and things like that. So, yeah. Perfect. So what we'll talk about is we'll just review MISO procedures, kind of our requirements with our generators, how they're registered. Timeline of the day on January 24th, and just kind of communications and actions we took, and what the day looked like from our perspective. The impact to generation, on the electrical system, how we operated, and kind of the environment that we were operating in. And then we'll just review at the end with a few highlights from the event. So just to kind of review, this is a newer graph or chart from MISO. The old one was pretty similar, but I had more steps. MISO has simplified steps. So kind of normal operations. You look on the right side, the green area, it kind of shows like normal pricing. So operations on the left, pricing on the right. I just want to kind of highlight the prices of normal pricing. And then as you get out into warnings and event step 1s, emergency pricing tier 1. Basically what that's stating is during those events, when we operate, our generators would get that revenue of a minimum of $600 per megawatt hour because of the emergency condition we're in. It's kind of like this flat fee for showing up, providing the support. They're going to give you a minimum of $600 in a warning or event step 2. And then if you move down to warning or event step 1, move down to event step 2, more extreme conditions, minimum price goes up for the value of our energy that we produce. And event step 2, that's the point at which we are required to operate. We are basically financial penalties take place if we do not operate and generate. In event step 3, something we've never seen before and hope to never see before, those are actual load shedding events, rolling blackouts, excuse me, and just extreme prices, that we hope we never see. So, so if you go to the next slide, so Thursday, so it's just 2 days before the event, MISO declared conservative operations, starting on Friday. So then the next day, starting the next day, Friday, and then going through this Tuesday next week. So they're just basically saying, hey, heads up, we see it coming. Generation's gonna be short, compared to load. Get ready and be prepared. And that's for all the transmission companies, the generation companies, like everybody get ready to ramp things up and keep things in service. Don't take any outages. Then on Friday, if you look at the chart on the right, those were the day ahead prices that we got to see on Friday about what the prices would be on Saturday. So for the next day. So, oops,
Sorry.
that's all right. So, looking at those prices, I've never seen elevated prices like that in the day ahead projections all day.
Not for a Saturday either.
No, and that's a Saturday. So thank God this happened on a Saturday. If it was a weekday, I think we'd be in a completely different scenario. But anyway, typically you see, little peaks of price in the morning, peaks in the afternoon, but you never see elevated prices like that all day long. So it's like, okay, something's happening. Something big is not gonna, kind of be prepared for the unexpected, basically. So yeah, on Friday, before I left for the day, I turned on our gas compressor oil heater and pump. That gas compressor sits outside, and that oil that's in it is actually, the viscosity is pretty high, and it has a pour point of 5 degrees Fahrenheit. So anything below 5 degrees, the oil is tar, it does not pour. So, wanted to get that oil heater on. But if you look in that picture, you got those little kind of tubes that kind of spin around and make, 180-degree turns.
Mhm.
All those tubes aren't necessarily heated. So the oil in all those tubes are still exposed to that extreme cold temperature. So we had a little delay starting up the gas compressor skid, just kind of pushing that sludgy oil through all those tubes that aren't heated in the main part of the compressor, but we got it up and running. So that was a good achievement for the temperatures we were experiencing.
Can you put future heat tape on those in the event of you're in a really situation like that?
Potentially.
Just that- So is that, so when you're ready, it's not the delay?
Yeah. When we arrived, it was negative 28 degrees. So at that temperature, a lot of things, that is a good thing to do to try and, protect that. But that's one of, like, all of a sudden you snowball the effects of this cold temperature with not just this system, but other systems, and it is a big they're not just single steps. All of a sudden you just the engineering really explodes at that point. Okay, we can go to the next slide. Sorry for the so Saturday, this was the actual day of the Max Gen Step 2 event. So I kind of went through a timeline here of, so 12:19 in the morning, MISO declared a Max Gen Step 1. That was their first notification that came out. until 6 a.m. And then at 3 a.m., they extended that to 11 a.m. And then at 5 a.m., that's when we received the instructions, MPPA, interfaces with MISO. And we are on a call list, a text list, and an email list. So when MISO sends out those instructions, they send them to MPPA. MPPA then deploys them to everybody, all the municipalities that are registered or have generators ready to go. So then we arrived at the site at about 5:45 a.m. Got the gas compressor running and started unit 1 by 7:10. So that was pretty good. For the conditions, like I said, I mean, -28. I went to college in UP, and -28 is cold. Like, I mean,
An Eskimo would say.
yeah,
Even up there, it's cold, right?
up there. Yeah,
I know, like,
I just don't
the
have.
needles on your fingertips, even with gloves. I mean, it was brutal. So, yeah. So
So I want to interrupt. Casey is downplaying the accomplishment of getting him fired up at -28. The last time, the most extreme from a cold standpoint we tried to before this was still positive.
yeah, it was
Single digits. Yeah. It was still cold and we struggled to get it fired up. This is a huge accomplishment to go another 30 degrees colder.
Yeah. So
We were closer to freezing the last time we had problems than we were to this time to the last most extreme. So
yeah, this was
it's a huge accomplishment to get them fired up in.
Yeah.
Well under our response time. We're obligated to fire them up in 5.5 hours. But obviously grid gets to this condition, everybody does everything they can. Casey won't toot his own horn, but I will. It was intentional, it was calculated, and it was a result of a very systematic approach to addressing our problems that the challenges we ran into the last time. So Casey is owed a ton of gratitude, about $150,000 worth of gratitude.
Well, I'll toot the generation facilities horn and the investment that's been made into it since I got here. When I got here, needed a lot of TLC, from safety to processes to engineering standards, mechanical, electrical. I know a lot of money has been invested, a lot of projects have been done. So, and that's a direct result of the board's support. So we're here because of the investment that we've all made. So,
We invested in you, and that was a great investment.
well, thank you.
That was a great investment.
I appreciate it.
We appreciate you. I wouldn't have done that.
Operating.
Nope.
Do you know how cold it is? Thank you. No, thank you.
Bravo. Bravo,
So, well, thank you.
man.
And I don't have to go through each one of these, but we, during this whole day, I'll also kind of highlight that MISO's website is really, just to summarize it, it was inoperative. There was very little, we really looked to MISO's website to see what's the grid doing? Where are the regions that are struggling?
And they were having problems.
The public interface was completely down.
Yeah. So
Made my day.
we had very little vision into what was going on. We knew we had to be up and running. We didn't know prices. We didn't know how crazy the prices were. And communications were kind of spotty too. So we really didn't know when things were going to terminate or start again.
What's the red back for? It was everybody that had to kick in their generators?
So those are nodes,
Okay,
metering nodes and price nodes, that MISO has. And they can they monitor voltage throughout the system, and voltage dictates, load or lack of generation.
okay.
And this actually wasn't even the most extreme map. This was, like I said, we had very little interface with the website that day, but I just kind of wanted to show this was very much a complete, you know, transmission region issue that was going on. The graph that shows the real-time price at the bottom there shows, you know, midnight to midnight of that day, what the prices did. And you know, just kind of reminding, normal pricing is 30 to 70 bucks, right? So during that 6 o'clock hour to 11 o'clock, you know, we were $1,000, $2,000 as far as real-time pricing goes. So yeah, it was very extreme. So, you know, they give you the day ahead projections. Well, the day ahead projections were well below what really happened in the system.
The pricing right now is
It
$32.
started close and then it went wild.
Right now, pricing is $32.
Yeah. So, okay, we can go to the next slide. So with this slide, I wanted to show what did from an electrical perspective, and the power we produce, how did our generators affect our town, our electrical system? So again, kind of starting from left to right, we got the day, you know, Saturday, midnight to midnight, essentially. And, you know, yellow is the load to the grid, I called it, which is basically what the grid saw us, our load, their perspective. And when we arrived, and you spread about the 7 hour ending 7 mark, when we arrived, got things up and running, the generators took almost the entire load of the town away from the grid. So top line, you know, is the sum of generation and grid load. So, you know, total load of the town. But, you know, we started up right about, you know, just after 7 o'clock, shut down right at about 9 o'clock. And, you know, I thought it was just a good achievement. We got close. We didn't quite power the entire town with our generators. That is something I've been striving for ever since I started. And we can easily do it in a calculated time. Sunday night, we can power the entire town, no problem. But I really want to do it in unplanned, uncontrolled conditions. That would just be a good achievement. So, but I thought it was pretty neat to see the load of the town, generation, its effect for the entire day. And also on the bottom, below the hour ending marks, shows that max gen step 2, or step 1, step 2, step 1, step 2, step 1.
Okay.
I've never seen that before. So typically you have an event, you know, ramps up, step 1, step 2, then you may fall back into step 1, or they might just terminate the emergency procedure. But I've never seen them come into step 2, out of step 2, back into step 2. And that was, and again, we didn't have a lot of visibility and good communication from MISO on what they were doing, what they were planning. And but power prices were so high after that first max gen step 2 stopped, we were like, well, we're going to keep running. And, you know, then in the afternoon, we got word that they're going to go back and do a step 2. So I don't know, I'm glad we kept running because we're good to go.
Yeah, yeah.
So when you
So
say,
you're saying that previous map, that if it was really, had really high resolution, it'd go to white spot over Lowell.
Right.
Right?
Whatever the 1 pixel. Yeah,
Yeah.
1 little pixel. We have power.
so did
But
you,
that was our contribution, right? That's like the, hey, no demand here.
Right.
so did you have to have 2 people here?
Yes.
And the set, besides you, who was the other?
So
Set it up.
yeah, Mark and I responded in the morning.
Okay,
Mark was here until 4, I think 4 or 5-ish. And then Jared came in. Jared tagged in for him. Yep.
Mark was just here playing solitaire.
Oh, no,
Oh,
no,
no?
we were walking around, taking
Okay.
readings and, you know, the other thing, like, we explored a lot of new frontiers with this, the environmental conditions, generators, you know, when combustion turbines run, the colder they are, the more power they produce. So we've never produced this amount of power before. So that was a new, I'm kind of skipping ahead here, but that's a new thing. And with that, we actually had, when we first loaded up one of the generators, you know, we had it, you know, go to max load, and well, you know, after a while, I'm looking at it, I'm like, uh-oh, we're not at max load. What's going on? I started digging through the screens and looking at all the data. I'm like, well, our fuel valve is 100% open. Like, it's trying to give it full throttle. The issue was we have a gas pressure regulator on that unit, and we needed to provide more pressure to the unit. It just had never consumed that much fuel before. So it's just, so I'm out, so we're, you know, get out the manual, read the manual, like, all right, I remember how to adjust this, you know, it's something you just do once and set it, forget it. But so we're out there, I'm, you know, turning up the pressure, I'm running back in here, Mark, we got more power, all right, going the right way, you know, I'm turning up more pressure, and getting it off full throttle. And, you know, so it's just new things that we've never experienced and had to respond to and adjust. And
So
Is
I'm,
that what that's for?
no,
Okay.
I don't know who, I don't know which load, who, what customer it was.
They ramped up for an hour and turned off.
Yeah.
Oh.
I know one of the biggest loads that we have in our system was very, very low that day. So thank goodness, again, like, you know, if it was a weekday and there was 3 more megawatts of load on the system, it would be different. So
here's my curiosity question. So if we had a third generator,
yeah.
would we have that produce 3 megawatts? Would we have, if we had the third generator, and could the gas keep up with having a third generator?
In case they keep up, I'm sure.
Yes. Just there that
I love the question, sorry.
there's so many facets to generator, right? Because we could go all sorts of different fuel systems and pressure requirements and sizes of generators. So there are much better options for different types of generators than what we have for our purpose and our use. More efficient and less startup time would be the key benefits to a different type of generation unit.
But
And that
ultimately-
price tag would be what?
TBD.
Yeah.
You will know that by the end of the year. No, this is really right at the core of Casey's strategic initiative to explore adding generation. There are constraints on the gas system that he's evaluating in partnership with NPPA, looking at different resources, you know, but all being flushed out this year in partnership with NPPA. But there are constraints on the gas system, but no constraint is, can't be solved by money. No. That's not true. No, it turns into a money thing. So there's a lot of moving parts. And it'll ultimately be an economic analysis that is in progress.
Okay, you see where my mind goes.
Yes.
Okay.
I love where you're
I like the idea of 4 generators,
many.
about 10 megawatts or something.
Especially if you're getting that, what was it, $1,000 a megawatt?
Hey, Grant, I mean, the core benefit of our generators is our capacity position and the savings that we have from that. Like every year we save hundreds of thousands of dollars because we don't have to go out and buy capacity. So this is just like icing on the cake, really. It's,
I will say that this is a reinforcement of the stability hedge plan.
yes.
Which I'll talk about a little bit in my manager's report, but the stability hedge plan and maintaining a highly hedged position. You know, if you're subject to the market when prices go to $1,200-$1,300, I mean, the prices that entire day never dropped below 600. The real-time prices showed below 600, but the actual real prices, because of emergency conditions, never got below $600 a megawatt hour. That's a 60-cent kilowatt hour. You know, retail all into a customer is 14. We just got the weekly invoice, as I mentioned earlier. We're going to be able to, because we are highly hedged, and there's some other factors. The fact that Campbell's still running that we were not counting on has us over hedged at this point. But because we have that aggressive hedge position, we're able to take advantage of selling back into the market at these elevated prices. And you expose yourself to the market to try and save a couple dollars. The potential upside in not being hedged is maybe a couple dollars a megawatt hour, maybe 10. The downside in an event like this is hundreds of thousands of dollars if you leave yourself exposed to the market. So it's just reinforces the value, the stability that comes from the stability hedge plan. It's really a protection against the risk side of the equation and acknowledging that price certainty has a lot of value when prices have the potential. The ceiling is really high. The floor is not nearly as equally far apart from the normal. So
What was our cost to generate that $150,000 during that time? What was our fuel cost and labor cost and?
to be determined.
Okay.
We don't have but I mean, just from a labor, and actually the generation made about 95,000. Megan sent you that.
That was net.
Yeah, netted. Our generation was about $95,000. We had some other windfalls and other projects.
Right.
I don't know what percentage of it's going to be, but I would say probably 5% of that. Maybe more than that. I take that back. Maybe 10% in cost.
Fuel wise, I think we're like $500 or $600 an hour. And
Okay,
fuel costs.
that's all right.
A little, yeah. So maybe it's a little more than I have on top of my head, but we'll do a deep dive. After every time Casey runs, he goes and does the analysis, and so here's what here's the here's kind of the cost. Here's
It's definitely to our benefit to run.
well, we have to.
Yeah.
The risk of the most damaging thing is not showing up.
Yes.
Regardless of what it costs us, even if it was it cost us, and it was a net cost to run, the value of capacity is so great. As Casey pointed out, not having to transact in the market or go to the planning reserve auction to fill our short position is worth every bit of a response. Just to take them to the market if we would have carried those two units to the planning reserve, it's probably close to $750,000. Granted, we would always transact ahead for price certainty, and we wouldn't expose ourselves to auction clearing prices, but it just gives you an idea of what that value looks like.
Are we still getting credits even when they don't run still? That's what I thought. When we bought them originally, we got a huge credit.
It's the availability basically we are paid the value of the support that they can provide the grid in conditions like this.
Very
Yeah, so we're not just getting paid for the high rates, it's just we're getting paid because this is available to be used.
We're avoiding costs more than anything.
Yeah.
Because basically everybody has to bring their own toys to the sandbox. If we're gonna serve 100 megawatts worth of load, we gotta bring 100 megawatts worth of toys to the sandbox. If you don't, you have to pay the market for that, because I mean, somebody else is providing the grid support. We have to support our own load on the grid. And then you have the energy piece that where we're able to tackle the or take advantage of the high prices because we hedge our energy, not necessarily our capacity.
Can I ask one more question and then just shut up?
It's your show.
Um, So how many other MPPA? So does Portland have their own generator? Does, I mean, do most of the MP,
I don't know.
I wouldn't say most.
I mean,
Holland has generation, Zealand, Lansing, Bay City, Portland, Seaboing.
St. Louis? It's a more of a curiosity, how much, I mean,
Marquette.
Marquette has a huge, they've got the energy center.
So I don't know, it's less than half.
okay,
So these ones that don't have generation, they do have other market securities to.
There's a lot of ways to fill your capacity, because we get a capacity accreditation from Bell River, from Campbell, any of our asset projects, there's a certain capacity accreditation that comes with those.
The ones that don't have it. I mean,
Even the solar PPAs have solar and wind have capacity accreditation, but it's a fraction of what you nameplate. And it's seasonal. They've made, their seasonality, your capacity. So they're just going out and either transacting from a bilateral perspective on the market to fill their capacity short position. We do intra-agency transactions where, we can sell one member can sell their long position to another member that has a short position. So there's some other strategies, and we did that this past year. We had a short position. We transacted through a PPA with another member to fill our short position, just small seasonal positions. So
one more, I'm sorry.
No.
One leads to another. So like, does the Holland, Zealands, Lansings, Marquettes, they run their we're just running our generators when we get called to, are they running their generators all the time? Or are they in this, or do they have some in the same boat that we're in?
Yeah, everybody's a little unique in the units they have, the fuel they use, the application. I'd say we're very similar to Portland, and Bay City. I know Zealand kind of is more of a hybrid approach where they kind of load their units more frequently. And then Holland has a large generation facility, but they also use it for like their snow melt system for their downtown and things like that. So they're more of a base load generation facility.
Okay.
Thanks. Yeah.
all right, you got one more. I'll say you got one.
Yeah. So just kind of summarizing it, MISO, obviously the website issues, notifications were a struggle, but we made it through that. Unique things, 2 separate max gen step 2 events in one day. That was a new thing. We've never done that before. Operations wise, preparation planning, Tom and I have been working on the facility and, routine maintenance and inspections, and he's in here once a week, but that once a week is very impactful in just making sure battery banks are properly maintained. Just looking at all of our equipment and changing oil and filters, and so definitely a team effort. And also Mark and Jared, who responded and participated on Saturday. Huge benefit that they brought. Attitude is the biggest thing. Willingness to help. Participation was just great working with both of them. So obviously a big effort. Coldest temperature ever operated. So when we arrived, it was -28. It was cold.
It's not made for human.
After a couple hours, it was like, it did warm up to like -14, but that was still quite cold. Like Charlie was saying, it was like 30 degrees colder than we've ever operated before. So it wasn't just a little margin, it was quite substantial colder.
Yeah, once you get so low, it doesn't matter.
Honestly, the crazy thing is if you think about the temperature differential from where we were at to freezing, you
Yeah.
take that differential and add it on top of freezing, we're all complaining that it's hot.
Roasted.
It went from, the other direction, it goes from cold to hot. This direction, it goes from cold to holy crap, it's cold.
Yeah, my
Yeah.
teeth hurt.
Yeah. I can feel my hair.
So, and the greatest, excuse me, amount of power we've ever generated at one time. I tell people, those are 5,000 horsepower turbines. Well, we were kicking out about 6,000 horsepower out of each one. So that was pretty cool. So that's some fun stuff. So, longest continuous operation. That was a good achievement because, oh my gosh, so many gremlins we've worked through over the years. You never know what's gonna pop up with those. Cause I mean, they are 40 years old and they're not perfect. So, and then, we almost powered the entire town, close, but not quite. So hopefully there'll be another opportunity when we get to do that. So.
Maybe like maybe negative 40, we could have got that.
Well,
extra.
a megawatt
out of them.
Casey's not,
I know how inputs work.
Casey's pulling Tina negative 40. No, thanks.
I think we're reaching other system limitations at that point.
Yeah.
And this really is a huge accomplishment. I mean, we have, it may not be something that we've stressed to the board routinely, but it's something that's been a part of a lot of conversations. We've acknowledged, we know that we have to gain confidence in our ability to operate these units. We know that we need operational flexibility. MISO is targeting behind the meter generation to make sure that they do provide the grid support. For years and years, there were no max gen events. From the history or from the origins of MISO up till 2021-ish.
Yeah.
So over 20 years, or right around 20 years, there wasn't a max gen event. So there were a lot of people that were putting their units in the market and saying, cool, I'll get paid for them. Well, as they've had events, they're just generators that aren't showing up to them. So as they count, as MISO, and we all count on these units to support the grid, we need to make sure they show up. Well, MISO is going to tighten the rules down. They're going to tighten expectations. So we have had it on our radar, and it's been an ongoing effort to be able to operate and make sure that we can respond in all the extreme conditions, whether that's hot or cold. And we've operated at incredibly hot temperatures and operated at incredibly cold temperatures. But more than that, there's more staff involvement. There's expertise and familiarity being developed across the groups here. So this is a really big accomplishment for Casey and the guys in general. And just I want to make sure that doesn't get lost, because it's just another it's just another operation, but it's not. It's very much a culmination of many years worth of planning, thoughtful efforts. And when you don't get, there is no testing negative 28.
Yeah.
The test is do it. And that's it. And Casey, I'll give Casey credit. Every single time we have hit some extreme cold temperature, there's been testing, knowing that there's thought put into, hey, this might work, this should work. But engineering solutions really pay out when the real world hits, because there's, like you said, there's so many other system limitations. You can't factor in everything. So to be able to respond to this event in the timeline that Casey shared is just an absolute tremendous accomplishment from Casey.
One more. Sorry.
No,
So you had, so down in the corner, which is Chicago, Gary, Indiana, PMJ or PGM. So did they have, so throughout the nation, was everybody having this same event? I mean, so that, I mean, I know we're in MISO and so do you know whether, I mean, were the other 5, 7, whatever there is, were they having the same?
I know they were also, had elevated LL&P prices, you know, the cost per megawatt hour. I don't know what their emergency conditions were and how far they went into their conditions, how long they were in them. I did not monitor that.
I just, you know,
It's a good question. I think everybody would have been in a similar situation, especially all of our neighboring transmission regions. But I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know.
Now,
We will find out tomorrow, though, I'm sure. MPPA board meeting tomorrow, so I'm sure they'll do at least a touch point on it.
Yeah, thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Casey.
It was a long day.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought I was gonna have to kick him out of here. I was trying not to pester him. I was sitting there staring at my computer. And he got to the 16-hour mark and I thought, no, probably about time to go home. That's when he sent a text message and said, we're gonna wrap up. No, tremendous dedication.
Thank you.
He didn't talk about the fact that he didn't sleep from midnight to 5 either because he was watching the
I
computer.
knew it was coming. I told my wife the night before, I was like, I feel this one. This is coming. It's cold. It's gonna be bad.
It's gonna be brutal. It was.
All right, we'll roll on to the office report. Julie.
Yeah, a lot of it is listed there, but I wanted to just touch on the NISC, the software, that we're switching to. I did get added to a user group, and that user group is holding, I'm pretty sure based on some of the information I've received, the first user group, Michigan, and it's gonna be in Grand Rapids. And yeah, I'm very excited about it. And the only downfall, I guess, is it's spring break and 3 other people are out, so it's gonna be
Charlie's gonna address that a little bit.
Yeah, this is something I talked to Perry about. One of the big drivers in selecting NISC was the fact that we have peers in Michigan that we can network with. So see a tremendous, such a value that April 6th, just, it will make a more formal announcement, but we're eyeing, it's a Monday. We're eyeing not opening the office that day, to allow the office staff to be able to go to the users group meeting. Normally, we would have a couple of people they'd stick around and we keep the office open, but anybody that's there to stick the office around is gonna be someplace warm. Or on maternity leave, so we really, oh yes, hopefully she's warm. But we're looking at shutting the office down that day so that we can take advantage of this users group.
Yeah.
And the point being is they're still gonna be working. They're not getting a free day off. They're still gonna be working. It's just not gonna be in our office.
Yes.
Yeah, but it's kind of abnormal that we just shut the office down for a whole day. And it happens that if the event doesn't start till noon.
Yeah.
Obviously they'll be able to come in, take care of all the Monday morning stuff,
Right.
process payments, all that good stuff, and then we'll all head out. And, I think that they could have picked a better week, but I get it. Not gonna complain. We're new. We'll wait till we're not new. But we
Right.
Who got to do the MillSoft call?
I did.
Did you fight for it? Did you have to
No.
fight?
Charlie and I agreed we're going to do it together, and then he got stuck. And so then,
stuff quit.
I don't remember either, but then you came in and,
Yeah, stuff was that.
It's a good call to want to make, I think.
to tell Brad, so he was, and has been very nice about it.
No,
and
that's not
helped
good.
in
It's just-
moving the whole process forward, so.
And I will say that, one of the things, the unknowns going into it was what was the financial commitment going to be to get the data?
Mhm.
And it came in, I won the under bet. I owe pizza somehow. I don't know how I won and still get to owe everybody.
You agree?
I don't know what, they bamboozled me.
Yes.
Collusion. But no, it came in at what, right around 30,000, 35,000, which we thought it could be as high as 60. So, I'll remind the board that, under the approvals, the board authorized terminating contract and termination fees, data extraction fees. So we were happy that came in under worst case scenario.
Yeah, that's all aligning, I have a schedule and it's all going very well, so. Yeah,
Awesome.
that's all I have.
All right. Any questions for Julie?
Just on the breakfast, I had a good time there. I thought it was pretty well attended. I'm sorry that the breakfast pizza showed up a little bit later, but it was still good.
Yes,
Yes.
So,
thank you for attending.
Yes.
oh yeah, it was, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was a really, really good event.
Mhm.
Had a lot of engagement with with customers, just good conversations before and after the meeting. So really, really was a good use of time. Didn't come without its hiccups, but
Yeah.
adapt and overcome.
Yeah, I was happy to be there.
Eight shits.
All right, I'm going to touch on just a few things. Again, there seems to be a lot of stuff going on with MPPA all the time. One thing I did want to specifically highlight was 2025 was our first year under the new legislation for renewable energy standard. The calculation was kind of strange because your actual requirement was based on the day the MPSC approved your plan, which was like middle of December. So the actual calculation resulted in a requirement of less than 1% renewable. I provided feedback to MPPA to say we want to maintain 15%. There's a lot of factors that go into that. One big driver is there's just not much to gain by just doing the minimum there when we've maintained 15%, even when there was no requirement. Others are from a risk standpoint and a credit rating agency. I don't feel like that would have been viewed favorably, and there's just not enough value in those recs to not warrant maintaining that 15%. Other thing I want to highlight, and it's in your board packet, is I signed a purchase power commitment. I talked about the stability hedge plan. It's a large dollar commitment to transact up to. It authorizes MPPA to transact on our behalf up to those dollar amounts and up to those quantities of power. But it's just part of the stability hedge plan where to your point earlier, every year a year rolls off, we add a new year, and everything slides forward. So included in your packet is a copy of the purchase power commitment and also a copy of the stability hedge or the risk management hedge plan. So just some reference materials if you're so inclined to dig into them. Want to just mention that I'll be in DC later this month for the legislative rally. Got some dates there. Be on the lookout tomorrow for an email for Know Before trainings. Those are going to come out. We'll keep them kind of open just like we have for a month or so, run them through the next board meeting. I want to highlight the MPPA stakeholder meeting. We've had great attendance in the past and heard from some city council members that I've gotten registered, but I've sent the email out. If you want to register yourself, you're more than welcome to. We'll just highlight that it's a kind of a strange.
Nope.
Huh? You can't click on it. I told you it was all right though. I told you as long as you get an email.
You sign me up.
You want me to sign? I'll get you signed up.
Yeah, sign me up too.
All right, all day.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, the morning is the MMEA general membership meeting, and then which I will preside over. It's not all that exciting, but we always have. It's always great to hear.
You'll be there to heckle, yeah.
It's good to hear what Katie has to say. There's always a good speaker, and then you get the chance to heckle me. But then we do lunch, and the MPPA is in the afternoon. So, city council, I've signed up some city council members. I'm just signing them up for the afternoon. It's not a little removed to get down in the weeds on the MMEA, but everybody's welcome all day. So yeah, I will get.
I'm electronically challenged, so.
I'd like to offer to you just So you have to.
So then you have to remind me to read, oh,
I can do that. Send a reminder. But want to, like I said, that really encouraged, the speaker lineup's great. It's, there's going to be a speaker from, a cybersecurity company that focuses on critical infrastructure. And I actually sent city council a copy of the 60 Minutes story that they did on Littleton, Massachusetts. But Littleton's another public power community, about 10,000 residents, and the FBI showed up on their door and said, Chinese government's in your water system. And what's his name? Nick thought, what do you mean? So,
Spice in the pipe.
yeah, interesting. Being very relevant topic and really relevant for the city as well when you talk about critical infrastructure, cybersecurity. And then there's going to be a speaker from Next Era, which is just a huge company and going to be addressing large load additions, data centers, how the grid's supporting them, what that process looks like. So very timely. And then I always encourage MPPA to share MPPA perspective. So Pat Boland will also be giving his kind of MPPA update. So some things to put on radar. Social media policy. We're currently working with our legal counsel to update our social media policies, and that'll impact. One thing that's missing is standards for the public to engage with our social media. And as I've made the board aware, we've had some challenges with defamatory comments being posted. So we just want to make sure we're shoring those up. And when you start obviously talking about a public entity, talking about speech, you just need to make sure, we need to make sure that we're navigating those waters in a way that doesn't create a bunch of risk for the utility. So taking our time with it. I am really eager to get this done though, because it's really, social media for us is not doom scrolling sitting at home. It's very much a great tool to get information out there. And day to day, it's optional consumption, but when it comes to a major event, social media is an incredibly effective tool, and for disseminating information about things like outages. So we need to continue to promote social media. You need to continue to facilitate our staff time and continue to dedicate that, because it pays off when a major event happens. It's not just something that we like doing. It is fun, but it's a really valuable tool. So want to put that on everybody's radar. And and that is all I have on the manager's report. Happy to answer any questions, but otherwise I'll hand it back to you. Oh wait, we got the pictures. I always forget to put these. No, sorry, you got to scroll all the way through the risk management policy.
Yep, I'm working on it. Hey,
I got nothing.
stop.
overly outage,
I would say wherever you're at, if you got them, look through your pictures.
Christmas tree recycling, and
Christmas. So the Christmas tree recycling this year was kind of interesting. Perry gave us the idea to call Boulder Ridge and see if they'd have any interest in taking some Christmas trees. They were not interested in the 100 and some Christmas trees, all of them, but were interested in 15, 20 maybe. I don't know.
Did we have too many?
Yeah,
no, well,
they didn't have a need for 100. They had
we could,
Well, I thought that we were gonna just chip them up and put them in.
we were. And what happened, I saw on the news that Boulder Creek was taking some trees that they would feed them to their animals and different things. And so I mentioned to Charlie, because besides chip, yeah, these guys chip them up like that, but I go and it's just a good, if they wanted some, we could provide them with some. So I think they took one trailer out there with some trees, and it was just, it was something that I saw on the news.
Okay, very good.
Yeah, just a little twist this year. Thought it was a great idea, so they called and it was fun.
And how did were they like super, I'm so grateful for
I
this.
think they were appreciative. They did not like the idea of 150 trees. I think they didn't. But no, they were appreciative because like Perry said, they put it out there. So I'm sure that they were appreciative that we saw it and Perry saw it, passed the idea along and made it happen. So.
What animal do you increase?
Goats.
Goats and other, I mean, they,
Maybe zebra, I don't know, they got antelope, they got all giraffes, they got all kinds of things out there.
So very good. It was 127 trees total. So this has been a great little new addition over the last few years to the community outreach stuff. And it was another success this year. I think people are starting to expect it, which is nice. I've received a few phone calls this year. Like, you guys are going to do that again? Yep. Fantastic.
The garage smells better, right?
Yeah.
Do what?
The garage smells better.
Yeah.
Not this year. We didn't keep any
Oh,
in here this year. We got rid of them.
Super cool.
Usually it's pine
Good
fresh.
idea though.
yeah.
Aw.
All right. Yep. Those are
Get him out of here.
Look at the world, Jack.
and then there's just some business breakfast pictures. So
Yep.
that looks
It's
scary.
good done.
well, because everybody was getting ready to hang you if you didn't get breakfast going.
Yeah.
I was being targeted.
Yeah. Welcome to the food.
I was gonna say we need to be.
That's fine. That's how I wake up in a cold sweat in the middle of the night, like, oh, we're out of pizza and I promised Ben I'd bring pizzas.
Wasn't there a picture of a big tree in the road?
Yes,
There's
that
a
was overly
overlay.
drive.
We scrolled past it.
That was the outage that we fell from the wrong side of the road.
Right.
Mhm.
We could have picked the next 10,000 trees to cut in town and we still wouldn't have picked that one.
Yeah.
Cool. All right, that's the end of everything except for
Scheduled meetings, our next, our offices, President's Day, which is February 16th, will be closed, Lowell and Power will be closed. And then our next meeting is March 10th. And last meeting had said that I wouldn't be there. Plans have changed and I will be here for the meeting. Will not be leaving until Thursday. Of that. So, with that, board comment, Tina.
I'm just in awe of the minus 28 or 23 and you fired that up and you're pretty brave. And I'm glad that I wasn't one of your assistants because I would have been pissed that we didn't have that machine inside a tent with a torpedo heater to get.
I don't know if you want, I don't know if you want torpedo heaters heating natural gas.
Aiming at natural gas.
Not quite sure. I thought of that, but I don't know.
So,
Have that little
I can see
pinprick
Perry
leak.
bringing his overhand head.
gosh, it's just brutal, so, but, that's, bravo, that's, low light power does a lot of really amazing things behind the scenes that this community has no idea what you guys do. And I appreciate what the office staff, what you guys do, you guys hit the ground running, whether you're in the office or here or out there in the elements. And I appreciate you guys because if I'm not warm and my lights don't work, I'm gonna, that's, COVID was an eye opener for me. That something that it's there all the time, I'm comfortable, and then it was taken away. Wow. And you guys make sure that everybody's still in their nice warm homes and
Mhm.
their lights on and let me have my TV on all night long. Thank you. So appreciate you guys. And that's it. Thank you.
Andrew,
I guess I was just gonna echo more or less what Gene already said, so I don't have to add a whole lot. I was just gonna note that around the time that Casey was sitting there thinking, "Ooh, I'm gonna stay up all night, at midnight or whatever," and I'm out on my front porch putting footprints on the stuff just for fun. So the kids in the morning freaked out. What the heck were you doing? So I was like 16, both my bare feet, and
Oh, wow.
just because my feet don't get cold that easily, so it's fun to do that once in a while. But
Wow.
they stayed there for a few days. Those footprints.
You would have freaked me out too.
But it also freaked them out because our doorknob frosted over with a 1/4 inch of frost on the front door. Yeah, just the doorknob.
Wow.
But it was bright white, crystallized. I was like, never seen that before. Didn't know that was possible.
You get ice crystals on the inside of the window? Like
Just the doorknob was. But yeah, not in the windows or anywhere, not any other part of the house we could find, but just the front door.
Yeah, can you see
But-
through your lock set though? That warm air pushing out on the front, hitting the knob, causing it to frost up?
It's cold.
I don't know. It's just because I think metal conducts heat so well that.
That's what I'm thinking.
And I think we probably had the humidity was probably set too high or something. I don't know.
It's always set too high at -28.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It's like because our windows had the dew and everything.
If there's any moisture in the air, it's going to freeze at -20.
Yeah,
I could have scraped the inside of some of my windows.
yeah. So that's how I spent my evening. That evening, I mean, was like, hey, let me go put footprints on the front door. And he's like, we'll spend all day at work. So appreciate that you're thinking that. But I mean, to be honest, I'm kind of appreciate all three of you guys. But there's so much stuff you guys are just doing, taking initiative on, and it's just fun to hear what you guys do and just all the different types of things that you're thinking about. And even when we ask you silly questions, you guys actually have answers. And it's like, oh, geez, you thought about that. I thought it's a silly question, And so definitely appreciating all that effort you guys are putting into your roles. A lot of good leadership at this end of the table. And just for that end. So.
They said it.
And just real quick, I brought in some stuff I found at my parents' house that was from out Lowell. So if you guys want to look through it before Tina takes it to the museum.
Okay.
Cool.
Yeah, he has a picture of his mom, your grandmother.
What year is that?
Yeah.
One right there.
88.
Just fun stuff I didn't even know my parents had.
I was using diapers.
She was the ending Medicare flappers dance. Dance group.
Yeah, I think she was in her 50s at that time.
I can't remember how old you are, Charlie.
Maybe 40, I don't know.
So-
She was-
Okay,
But she's still.
I was
doing
three.
it when I was
Easily out.
When you were little, or older.
I know, honestly, in her 50s or more, but I think she might have been in her 40s back then. I forget exactly how old.
The Lettermen were actually the headliners, you guys. So that's pretty cool. That is very cool. Stop it.
Looks like Hall and Oates to me. I don't know.
Still calling us on a third.
You guys were, no, very, very cool. And of course, one more thing is that I was in awe of that Philip and Jan Johnson, they drew out this map of Lowell. And this looks like it was
1967.
So if you turn that over, show the other side. So Newell Manufacturing,
right there.
we're located right next to that now.
Yep.
That we're in.
Yeah, that's right. over
The
there.
energy center is right next to it.
Perform.
So
Was a school before that.
this is so great.
So yeah, that was before most of us were born.
Mhm.
I'll just say
Well-
most.
And
There's maybe two of us in here that were.
I had one thought. I was wondering how the new flex schedule has been received now that we've been doing it for a while by employees and customers alike. If you guys had anything to add, I know that we checked in a couple weeks after we did it, maybe. Thought it was fine, but
I guess I'll comment on that, especially my office staff with daycare needs, school bus needs, the flexibility that I give them, that they flex their hours and they come in later because of different things, and then they work a little bit later. Some days they have to leave early to go get kids picked up before 5.
Sure.
So I've heard from several of them how fortunate they are. And then customers, we didn't receive many comments. Maybe a couple people like, oh, that's great hours. And then we kind of return and say, well, we still get our hour, 40 hours in. We're just not open to the public. We're doing other items, other tasks, other things
Gotcha.
are still getting done. We just saw that being open, customers weren't coming in at those times.
Yeah.
We use that to do other projects and other focus times. So, but yeah, a lot of the employees are really taking advantage of the flexibility that works for each of their schedules. So they can do what works for them, and the person sitting next to them might have a different availability. And so that part I've really heard very positive feedback on.
Good deal.
Thanks for asking.
Good. And then,
Just want to comment on Friday afternoons, places like the Ghost Town, which is
Yeah.
really good for anything IT.
Yeah.
So we do like a lot of IT planning around Fridays, Friday afternoons, no impact on business. Maintenance of equipment, like testing transfer switches on the buildings, emergency generators, flicker the lights and nobody's concerned. And, you're not causing any disruption. So, actually this Friday, we're having, our annual fire extinguisher and sprinkler systems inspected. And we're doing it on Friday just because it's least impactful, and have contractors in the office space, and we have a lot of fire extinguishers on the trucks. So typically the trucks are out somewhere, and to have them here is easy for the contractor to go through and, go from truck to truck to truck and inspect things and not have to pull guys off jobs and things like that. So.
Yeah, Casey's the one person that stayed on.
It's a ghost town except for.
Yeah, Casey stayed on 5/8. It's not something that was mandated. He's got the flexibility of, he knows that he has that flexibility, but I think overall, you look at the positives far outweigh the negatives. Am I gonna say every customer is happy? Probably not. We've not heard many, and I think of maybe one customer in 2 years now. Was it
Yeah,
2
at the
years?
beginning, just unfamiliar.
Yeah, just unfamiliar. But what we've found is that the vast majority of our customers that walk in are retirees.
yeah, they have the day.
They tend to be the older crowd, and they tend to have a little bit more flexibility. So it's been well received overall, I think, and most people see the value. I may not see, they understand they understand the potential value in us doing it. They may not see it, but it helps that we're committed to service. If we weren't committed to service and meeting their needs, they might think there were ulterior motives, but
Sure.
when they see that they consistently receive high quality service, whether it's calling in or there's an outage or whatever, it builds confidence in us that we're doing the right thing as a utility. So I think that's helped quite a bit to make it just kind of the way it is.
Good question.
That and yeah, it's exciting to get a Max Gen event and to be able to see, it's on off hours. It's like a day to come in. We're working to get that response time down, so you get a chance to test that in an extreme condition. It's hard to line all those things up, but that's what a Max Gen event likely is going to have, a lot of those chaotic things. So yeah, that's good to see. It's I think from a board perspective, it's good for us if we're looking at potentially the MPPA reciprocating natural gas units, like down the road as a potential site here. we have the staff that is comfortable tackling those challenges. Gives me a lot of confidence that we can continue to like do some of those things going forward. That's all I got.
Greg,
I'm gonna keep it short so we can get this moved along. Charlie, Julie, Zach, Casey, thank you for your dedication and keeping your teams motivated. And that's all I have.
Tim,
Yeah, I want to kind of thank the board. I was on it, but we made a decision, I think maybe to spend $650,000 on that first turbine many years ago. So if we could get it for that price again today at $650,000, I think.
Sign me up for 2 more.
Yeah, exactly. So anyways, I just remember sitting on that and what it's come forward. I mean, it's total design, total different than it did, but it was a great investment back then. The other thing is, I will not be here next month. You guys can applaud. We'll be down in Lansing. The whole city council's down there for the CapCon, MML. So I don't expect anybody to be able to fit in. Right now, everybody's signed up for it, but I'll see if I can get somebody to sit in, but it's not necessary, but just let you know. So that's all I got.
okay. Yeah, want to echo what Jim said, because as a board member, that dates back quite a few years, you're thinking you're making the right decision, the best decision that you can at the time, for the ratepayers and for the citizens of Lowell. But sometimes, so this event, that Casey just went through, and we saw, again, financially what it did, for Lowell, for Lowell Lake Power, and you're just going like, Yahoo! We made the board through the guidance of previous general managers and our current general manager and our Casey being, an engineer, and Zach. The board has made some wise decisions that have benefited the city, the ratepayers, the employees, and kudos to the board, and kudos to the staff for leading us in the correct direction, which I believe is the correct direction. It's certainly, I don't think it's the again, I think that's probably why a lot of the questions that I asked tonight were, do other utilities have capacity and different things? It's affirming that we are making the correct decisions and the correct direction. I don't know if I'm going to assume a lot of people watched the Super Bowl or watched halftime. I thought maybe that was Zach. My wife says, "Oh, that's Light and Power or whatever." If you didn't see it, they had power poles with
Oh, yeah, I did.
transformers
I
up there,
made that comment.
and that was, I think, was a statement of where Puerto Rico is and their territory, and they, from a couple years ago with the hurricanes, they got decimated, and they're still struggling to get power back in full. But my wife just said, "Oh, Light and Power's got to take, like, see those I have to correct her because sometimes she says telephone poles, but I said, no, those are power poles, honey." But
I think
anyway,
they were tethered off, so
Huh?
it didn't fall. They were following safety protocol. We're tethered.
yeah.
First
So,
halftime show I've ever seen, I went, oh.
so anyway, it was just kind of,
start wearing.
It reminded, the citizens here in Lowell about what power really does for you in your life and everything. So, with that, anything else?
For my.
So I would entertain a motion to adjourn. And
So moved.
I'll support.
it's been moved and supported. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, motion carried. Okay,